Welcome to the Retro Blood.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood as we continue this journey in outer space, seeing deadly creatures come to this Earth in the 1980s, because we are continuing It Came From the Sky month. Up next, if y'all like ancient Egypt, alien green fungus stuff, if y'all like professors and a dude named Jack trying to solve the mystery of this fungi and a mummy, an alien mummy creature thing, don't call me Apocalypse. If y'all like open teacher-student relations of the sexual kind, then this is the review for you, brother, because the Retro Blood is talking all about 1982's Time Walker. Alison, James Kline, what's happening, Alison? How's your ancient alien time machine movie that's has to continue, but they wasn't continued? How's that going?
Oh, I wish you'd wait to brought that up later. But yeah, that was, man, it was great. I wanted to talk about this movie for a long time because there's a lot I want to say about it. I really, really, really like this movie.
Really?
I always have. Yeah, and I don't know what's wrong with everybody else.
You might be the only one.
Oh, come on. I tell you did not like it. Well, we'll talk. Well, this we're going to talk about later. But yeah, I want to talk about this movie for a long time. It's a long time coming. I got a lot to say about it. So far, it's treating me good.
This was a personal pick from yourself on here.
It was a personal pick.
So, I thought the movie was a little boring, and I never seen him. Okay.
What?
Listen, man.
What do you want? I mean, it has aliens.
It has one alien.
Mummies.
It has green vision.
It's got an alien, right? It's got an alien. It's got mummies.
It got one mummy.
That's fine.
Unless you count a boy, Sharpie or whatever the fuck his name was. He was a made-up mummy for a second. They got a green fungi, and you got, bro. I'm not even kidding. I could do a drinking game, which we're gonna do on this podcast, for how many times we had to cut to green vision. It was
I know, man.
Fucking million times.
That's how you know. That's how you know when the mummy's like looking at something.
It's the cheapest thing I've ever seen in my life. All right? And I've done some cheap shit, brother. Okay? Okay,
fine.
Listen, I'm pretty sure when I talk about it, I might like the movie a lot better. But when I was watching it, I was like, fuck, man. I think the problem with this movie for myself is because we have to write notes on it. And I try to catch as much stuff as I can. Man, I don't know. This movie had so many cuts. It's like somebody says a word,
There's
we
a lot
cut.
of cuts.
Somebody says another word, we cut. Cut. Fuck. There's 10 stories going on at once. I was like, fuck. Okay, we got you.
I will agree. It's only 82 minutes long, and it feels much longer than it is.
Yeah, because all the cuts.
I'll agree with that.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it had a interesting concept, but the finish is the ending.
The ending is terrible. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea. I don't know why they thought it's almost as like they just ran out of time.
Yes.
And said, okay, this is it.
And so, when it comes to who booked this shit, might be a little short because I could not find any information about this movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't know who booked this shit.
Well, I know the director and all that stuff, but there's no behind
course.
the scenes of, yes, we did this for this reason. There's none of that. There's people are embarrassed to talk about this shit, basically. So, but what is not embarrassing to talk about is the history segment.
Yeah. Let's do it.
That we're going to be doing right now. What was happening in the world of the pro wrestling and the metal music. We do this every Retro Blood to kind of, we kind of build on the excitement. We're kind of like the Professor Doug over here. You know what I mean? We don't only book the school board to come take a look at our creations. We book the press as well when we have great findings of what happened in 1982. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie came out November 1st, 1982. Okay, so we have a very early November release. I'll probably do the wrestling first because I didn't really find too much stuff that we kind of haven't talked about before in wrestling. But there was a very interesting professional wrestling match that actually happened 2 days before this on October 30th, 1982. And that was the Mid-Atlantic champion, Jack Briscoe, versus Paul Jones. All right. So I want to ask you a little bit about this particular characters we have over here, Jack Briscoe and Paul Jones. You know what? Are you familiar? Are you familiar with these two? You know, I know we talked about them here.
I am familiar with them. Yes. I know next to nothing about Paul Jones, although I have seen him wrestle before, or at least be a man. Maybe I remember him as a manager. I remember him wearing like some kind of like safari khaki shirt and like a leather like strap across his chest or something.
Yes.
Vaguely. That's about what I know about him, to be honest.
So Paul Jones is an interesting character because he is one of those guys who, you know, more in the 80s, you probably recognize him as a manager because he actually, when Mid-Atlantic kind of turned into, you know, Foley Crockett, Paul Jones wasn't really wrestling by then, but he was mostly a manager. And he was mostly managing, like, you know, like the Barbarian and stuff. And he was just a great manager. Like, because the thing with him is he was more of a promo guy than he was a, full professional wrestler. Even though, I mean, I watched this match that he had with Jack Briscoe, and it was a fantastic, you know, match. I mean, it was the mat style. I call it the mat style wrestling. You know, where you're doing a lot of more holds. You know, it's kind of like you would see, like, you know, it's kind of like when we watched the that New Japan show that recently aired, Windy City. What was it? Windy City Riot. It was basically like
Windy City Riot.
It was like a Matt Riddle versus Zack Sabre match. Kind of like what we got out of these two. You know, a lot of holds, a lot of counters. You know, they weren't as technical as those two guys are. Because of, you know, the MMA style wasn't really inserted into wrestling at this period. But, you know, it was a lot of chin locks, a lot of chin holds and stuff. Jack Briscoe actually did the bulldog. He did the bulldog, Mox's bulldog choke on this. I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. But yeah, Paul Jones, he's more like a character. He's more like a promo character, like a wild man promo character. But he's actually pretty solid in the ring. And, you know, go ahead.
I was going to say, and obviously Jack Briscoe is Jerry Briscoe's brother.
Yes.
But yeah, I remember Paul Jones with Paul Jones' Army, right? Like, with the Barbarian and the Warlord and all those guys. Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, he was a pretty, you know, well figured at this time. You know, I don't think he was like top tier main event, but he was definitely a good like mid card, and he was really good on the promos, even though he did have a manager at this particular time as well. Humperdinck. Sir Oliver Humperdinck was on this one.
Oliver Humperdinck, yes.
And so it was interesting to see because this was also a little bit on the tail end of Jack Briscoe's career as well. Because Jack Briscoe, he was mainly like a 70s wrestler. Like he was like a little bit bigger in the 70s, being like the NWA champion, being like the tag team champions with his brother Gerald. And what I like about Jack Briscoe, and the reason I want to bring up this match compared to like a whole card, is because, you know, Jack Briscoe is I think he's kind of a lost figure in wrestling, but I think he should get a little bit more respect because he is one of those guys. He's kind of like a Kurt Angle style wrestler for his day, because he came from, you know, collegiate wrestling, and he picked up professional wrestling quick. Like, you know how Kurt Angle, when he got out of the Olympic stuff, obviously, you know, it took him a little bit to, like, you know, settle with the WWE. But then when he did, and when he got on TV, he like shot up like a brick, you know, like super quick. And, you know, Jack Briscoe was very similar to that as well. All right, so I think like he kind of made the mold for a lot of these like collegiate wrestlers to get a little bit more recognized in the world of pro wrestling. Like he wasn't the first, obviously, you know what I mean. But he was of that ilk that, you know, it showed that a collegiate, you know, professional wrestler with mat-based technique can get to the highest mountain of being the champion. So I just think he's a cool figure on here.
Yeah, like I probably wouldn't even know who the Briscoes were if it hadn't been for Jerry being one of the Stooges in WWF.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. And then they had that body shop.
Yeah, had the body shop, and then I think ICP mentions them in one of their songs. Like they talk about Jack and Jerry Briscoe.
Yeah, but
I can't think of which song.
So, like, you know, this particular match that happened on the 30th and stuff, it was at a house show. So, you know, I was trying to see if it was actually on the Mid-Atlantic TV show. And if y'all want to watch it, the actual date for the match that they had before this match that they had on the 30th was on October 23rd, 1982. And it was on that Mid-Atlantic episode. And I didn't watch the whole episode because, you know, I'm busy, brother. I did too much research trying to figure out what was this green fungi to research more. Yeah, you know what I mean? Come on now.
Yeah, you got too much to do, man.
Got too much to do, brother. So, but when I watched this match, but I watched a promo before this one, and I could not believe this fucking promo. It was a very early Mike Rotunda. And, bro, this interview was the worst. I mean, he looks like he didn't know what to say. He lost his train of thought. He starts laughing a little bit at the end. It was like one of the most awkward promos I've ever heard. It was pretty funny. And then he goes in
like
this. Yeah, he's just like doing a random promo.
Like when he first started out, yeah.
Yeah, when he's just, you know, because, like, you know, back in the day, which they kind of do a little bit now, but not as much, you know, just throw you out there. Hey, man, say some stuff about your opponent. Oh, fuck, okay. And then, you know, Mike Rotunda was never known to be, you know, like, you know, some promo guy. You know what I mean? Even though he got better when he did his IRS gimmick. All right? Like, he got better over time, but they just threw him out there, and he just looked so lost. And then you cut, and then you see the promo with Paul Jones and his manager, Humperdinck, and he's great. He's just calling Jack Briscoe's in the ring wanting to fight for the belt. And Paul Jones like, I'm going to whip you. Like, this is going to be the easiest match of my life. It's going to be great. And then they go in there and they have a really good back and forth mat-style base wrestling match. Humperdinck tries to hold down Jack's legs so Paul can pin him. But then Jack breaks out of it. And then they fight back a little bit, back and forth. And then he eventually pins him with a suplex. Boom. There you go, brother.
Oh, nice.
And then they start double teaming. Paul Jones and Humperdinck start double teaming Jack, and then Jerry makes a save. So, but, you know, like, I would say, you know, definitely, you know, Jack and Jerry Briscoe, they're definitely before my time, and I know they're, you know, before your time is too. But, you know, if you go back and watch them, you could see, like, a lot of the mat-based style wrestling that they were brought at this time to wrestling. And I think they're actually one of the guys that kind of, like, bridged the gap to make it, you know, a little more popular, that style. You know, I kind of like, you know, that style was, you know, big in the 70s and a little bit in the 80s. And I feel like it kind of dropped off in the 90s. But then when we started getting more of, like, you know, like the more, you know, amateur based wrestling mat guys, like, you know, like Kurt Angle, you know, Benoit and stuff like that, you know, they kind of kept that scene alive. So,
yeah, I was about to say, I would agree with that. Like, cause, you know, like in the 90s, it was, well, even like starting with Hulkamania, I guess, like it all became spectacle.
Yeah.
And people didn't really want to see mat-based wrestling. You know, they just wanted to see either big guys throw other big guys around, or they wanted to see like an over-the-top character like The Rock or Steve Austin or somebody like that.
Yeah, because even when you had, you know, WCW in the 90s, you know, they had a little bit of the mat-based wrestling style, you know, but they wanted to go more towards the brawling kind of style. You know, even with like a Sting and stuff, he was more like like you said, like a little more flamboyant, big style wrestler. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, we had a little bit with the Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat, but that was still more flashy than what these guys were doing. Like, if you watch this match, I mean, it's all, like, they don't go outside, they don't go back suplexes or nothing. They just do all back and forth counters, holds, and submissions like the whole match. You know what I mean? So I didn't really see a lot of that style, you know, come back until we, you know, even nowadays, until we started getting, you know, more of like the first match I saw that was really mat-based wrestling, for me personally, was Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit. That was like my introduction to more of like a more mat-based style wrestling, because, you know, I started watching in the Attitude Era, and it might have been here and there, people were doing it, like Shamrock, but it wasn't like, you know, back and forth counters and holds and stuff, you know, that we would later on see.
Yeah, I would say that Shamrock was more of a brawler, but yeah, I can see that though because Angle knew all that mat-based wrestling, and Chris Benoit could wrestle any kind of match with anybody.
Exactly,
he could do a brawling match, he could do a high flying match, he could do mat-based matches. So I could see how that would be pretty amazing. But yeah, you're talking about how they went away from that, which is definitely true when you look at the career of somebody like Dean Malenko. Yeah, who he didn't really have necessarily the charisma to get over like somebody like Jericho. I'm trying to think of somebody that was Jericho, but I was thinking of somebody that's similar, like I can't think of it at the top of my head, but Kurt Angle. He doesn't have the charisma Kurt Angle had, and people just weren't interested in the man of 1,000 holds. They just wanted to see something more over the top. But yeah, and you're right. Like they've kind of brought it back a little bit with people like Zack Sabre Jr. kind of brings that kind of wrestling back. Yeah, and it's not for everybody. It is definitely slower. Yes, it's definitely a slower pace for sure.
So yes, I mean that's I'm gonna tell people listen to this and stuff like even if you're not into wrestling or if you're trying to get into wrestling or you know about it. I think a lot of non-wrestling fans are more into like MMA and UFC and stuff. I think they would like the actual mat-based wrestling with the counter, back and forth counters a little bit more because it is a more realistic style than the big brawler. You know what I mean? Like the big over the top, move brawler guy or like the luchadors, flipping around. It is more of a mat-based, style. And there is a lot of, most of the time when we have a MMA fighter come into wrestling now, they're gonna kind of be, they're gonna incorporate that style that they learned in MMA, like the mat-based wrestling. They're gonna go towards more of that kind of style than they would, more of the, high flying style. But check it out, everybody. Jack Briscoe, I don't think he gets a lot of love, but he actually really was a really good, well-rounded wrestler. And if you watch him, you could see so much of his stuff that he did back then that people are doing now. You know what I mean? Like I was telling you, in this match, he did Moxley's bulldog choke, and I was like, oh shit, it came out of nowhere. Where he grabs the guy by the fucking chin lock and he leaned back on him and stuff. And Jack, he was doing it too on Paul Jones. I was like, I thought he was gonna submit his ass right there, but that back in the day, that wasn't a finisher. You know what I mean? We had to do a suplex to be a finisher. But
suplex, power move,
brother. But he got him good. Like their chin locks were actually pretty impressive. Because they were doing stuff during the chin locks. They weren't just sitting there laying on the mat. They were moving around and all kinds of stuff. So pretty good match, everybody. Go check it out. But so let's get on to the metal. What are we going to be playing in the Trans Am, brother? On the way to first of all, there's no way this shit was played at the theaters. What kind of
okay. So I mean, we'll talk about this when we talk about who booked this shit, but I mean, it's not like this was some backyard production. I mean, this was made by New World. Roger Corman produced this basically.
Yeah, but fuck.
It probably played in theaters at some point. I didn't see this movie until about 1985 or 1986, though, when it came out on VHS. But anyway, let's assume that it was playing in theaters, and if it was, what were we going to be listening to on the way to the theater to see Time Walker?
So I cannot believe this album came out on this day. Now, I think, I was trying to do my research on our own podcast. Can you believe I had to do that?
Yeah.
We're We're almost 200 episodes in, brother.
That's crazy.
But I was trying to find if we talked about this album before, but I couldn't. And I was surprised because in my brain, I feel like we have. Okay?
Okay.
But
I'll see if I remember.
But I think we might have brought them up. But I don't think we actually talked about this full album yet. All right, so on this day, the debut album for our boys Venom came out, talking the album Black Metal. All right, it came out on this day.
I feel like we've talked about this too. I think I don't know if we talked about Black Metal or if we talked about the second Venom album.
Yeah,
but Venom Black Metal. It's always worth talking about again.
Yeah, but I think we did at War with Satan. But I think while we were talking about At War with Satan, we brought up the Black Metal album because it was one of their one of their most highly rated albums. It wasn't their first one, my bad. Their first one was Welcome to Hell, but this was their second album, Black Metal. But this is the one that's like their most popular album.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was pretty crazy. I mean, so, can you give us a little background about it?
Yeah. Sorry. Basically, yeah, Venom is like what I would call speed metal. They were kind of like they were like this kind of in between band. So like Venom existed before thrash metal, but they did a lot of the things that thrash metal does. Kind of like a band like Judas Priest or like early Judas Priest or like Motorhead. So they're kind of a cross between, in my opinion, kind of a cross between all of that. And they play really fast. But it's not. But it's really fast, like thrash metal is. But you can tell it's not thrash metal. It's not Slayer yet. But it's still like this kind of fast rock and roll, dark, satanic inspired, heavy metal. It's really hard to describe what Venom sounds like without listening to them. What is your thought on the Venom sound? Like, what would you call it?
So I would definitely go with like the thrash style.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, it does have a little bit more slower melodic sound to it as well too. Like it's kind of like, that some of those Slayer songs, they're not like, they just don't go out of the gate start shredding, but they kind of like build up to a little bit with more like sounds in the background. Venom's a little bit like that too, and they're kind of the ones that kind of like started that, in a way. So like, I would say they're more like that. Like they're kind of like a thrash mix kind of band, like thrash and melodic mixed at the same time. I would probably say it to them. Like they don't. To me, they don't sound like modern kind of black metal, because when I think of like the bands that kind of like started black metal was like Mayhem and shit. You know what I mean? With that turn the shit up, Bathory. Like you turn that shit up. So you hear all the distortions and you just like scream in the camera or the microphone. Okay, that's a black metal. This is more like you can hear what he's saying. You know what I mean? But it has like the dark elements to it.
Yeah, I mean, this is where this is definitely not black metal in the way that anybody who listens to black metal today would think of it. But this is where the term black metal came from.
Yeah.
I think that this is the term. This is where they got that term to call their music black metal, because all those bands listen to Venom. Venom is one of the most influential bands of all time. I mean, Metallica is probably the most influential metal band ever. But I would say that Venom is pretty close. I mean, they probably influence more modern day bands, whether those bands know it or not, than almost any other band.
Yeah, because they were one of the, with the imagery that they had on their album covers. And the way that they presented themselves on stage, they're actually a big influence on the early Norwegian black metal scene.
For sure. And they definitely took advantage of the satanic panic stuff from the 80s. So like most bands like Judas Priest and a lot of bands like that were kind of going, like, not going away from it, but like wanting to separate themselves from the satanic thing and, and saying that, we're not satanic. Venom kind of leaned into that to make people think that they were satanic. Even though I think that was more or anything just a gimmick for them. Like they just kind of wrote songs about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas a band like Merciful Fate they're truly satanic. But I think that they just kind of like wrote, those kind of themes, to be controversial and to scare people or whatever. And they really took advantage of the satanic panic of the 80s to be able to advance their career. They never really got the due that they deserve. They never got huge, for sure. But they are still playing music. I think they've kind of split into two different bands. I think the main band's called Venom Incorporated now, which has some of the band members. I think the singer and the drummer, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're still going strong today. But yeah, Venom black metal is a classic. And if you haven't heard that and you like metal, you should definitely hear it.
Yeah, and I thought this was a pretty interesting note on one of the band's songs. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'll just read this whole story right here. So the band's roadie came in the room and began drumming for them, and soon after, Abaddon would come in and try to make up a new drum pattern. But Lant and Dan felt the roadie's drum pattern worked best. All right. So Lant also explains the origin of the song's riff, and this is the song I'm talking. The song I'm talking about, all right, was Countess Bathory. Sounds like a Castlevania villain, brother. I like it.
It does.
Okay.
It does.
And this is was written when Abaddon when he would join the session, the guy we just talked about. So Lant also explained the origin of the song's opening riff, saying that it was inspired by the opening theme song of the children's show The Magic Roundabout. Okay? So apparently the opening riff is the title track to that show. And then also too, the opening riff would then properly go on to influence the main riff of Nirvana's Smell Like Teen Spirit.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting for that particular song that's on this album.
That is interesting. So Abaddon originally was the drum tech, and he replaced the original drummer.
Yeah, brother, he outstaged his ass. It's kind of like in this movie where I felt like our boy, what was his name, Jack? All right,
yeah,
all right, where he was trying to outstage Doug. You know,
I see,
of who can solve the mystery of the green goo fungi.
Oh yeah, you're not gonna outstage Doug though. That guy's the hero of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, come on now. So the final track on the album is preview of the title track for what was to be the band's third album, At War with Satan, a concept album that Lance started working on originally when he was in school, that tells a story between heaven and hell, and that's the one that we talked about before. So I don't think we actually talked. I think we mentioned the black album on here, but we definitely talked about that one before. But basically with this album, they had their Welcome to Hell, right? But then afterwards, they kind of gained some popularity from that album, and then they got more used to figuring out what their image was, and that's basically how the black metal album came to be. And it was actually, I'm doing some the research on here, and apparently, it actually was. It was actually, the album was released in Great Britain, November 1st, 1982, on Neat Records.
Neat Records.
All right.
So neat.
Included with the first album prints was an insert with the lyrics of the song in Gothic characters and many posters in black and white, talking about the whole members of the band. All right. So that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Let's see what they did on the release. So, everybody gives it a high rating. Okay.
Of course. It's a classic.
For the classic on here. But let's see. I guess when the album was released to acclaim from critics, and has since gone on to be recognized as one of the most influential metal albums ever released.
Absolutely. Another interesting thing about it, too, I believe, now I'm just reading this, I'm just thinking about this off the top of my head, but I believe, so we've talked about the band Trouble before, which is one of my favorite bands on the show. But Trouble was like a doom metal band that came out around this time, or maybe right after this. They were kind of billed as white metal. And they were billed as white metal because they were kind of the opposite of what Venom was doing, because the guys in the original Trouble band, Eric Wagner and those guys were, they wrote a lot of songs about spirituality and a lot of songs about Christianity. And they thought of it as Metal Blade thought of it as the kind of the opposite of what bands like Venom were doing. So instead of calling them black metal, Venom was black metal, this is the opposite of that. This is white metal. So they kind of influenced that as well. They created that whole genre as well.
Well, they influenced a shit ton of people.
Yes.
A lot of bands like Demi Borgir done covers of them, Mayhem, Blitzkrieg done covers on it. Even the Cradlefield drummer, he named his side band from that song we just talked about, Countess Bathory, the Bathory brand. Mm-hmm. And then also the Pantera vocalist also has a tattoo apparently of the band's demon face. The demon face that's on this cover. Mm-hmm. He has it tattooed on him as well. So. Yeah, I mean, it's just a really big band, very influential, kind kind of goes under the radar a little bit, but for a lot of hardcore metal fans, they definitely know who Venom are.
Absolutely.
Do you think our boy Sharpie? You think he was a big metal fan?
I don't know. Maybe, but he didn't really look like it. But you never know
true.
from the way people.
What about our boy Michael with after he got his hand lasered off?
After he got lasered off, that's the most metal thing. So
maybe he did like maybe he'll have like one of those like hook hands or something after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes.
So
and then he comes to kill a bunch of teenagers and say, "I know what you did last summer."
Yeah, there you go, brother. Maybe that was the origin story we didn't know we had here.
Exactly.
All right. So let's talk about a little bit about who booked this shit. All right.
Yeah.
I don't have too much stuff on the actual making of the movie or why they decided to make this fucking movie. I guess everybody's embarrassed of it, so they didn't want to talk about it. But I do have some information on who acted in it and who directed it.
Yeah.
So the first one is our director, the guy who put this shit all together, Tom Kennedy.
Tom Kennedy, yep. Who is not really a director. Yeah, I don't think he ever made another movie.
Well, hold on, bro. So he made a movie on here that I actually been waiting to see fully, which is, I think it's recognized to be one of the worst movies of all time, was Silent Night, Bloody Night. You ever heard of that one?
He directed that?
Yeah. So yeah, he was on the
Tom Kennedy directed that.
Yeah, when I looked it up before he did, let me see.
Because I was under the impression this is the only movie he made. Because he wasn't really a director. He worked in advertising. And then after he made this movie, he continued to work in advertising roles in Hollywood. But he has done some voiceover work and stuff like that. But yeah, I was under the impression this is the only feature-length movie he ever made.
Yeah, looks like he did a lot of special effects.
I've been wrong before.
Let's see. So he was a film trailer producer. All right, and he was also a voice-over artist, author, writer, and film editor. So let's see. So that's right. So with him, this guy is also known, okay, for, like you were saying before, he was on the advertising campaign for a shit ton of movies, and this guy actually did the advertising trailers for The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Indiana Jones, The Temple of... I mean, this is like legendary movies this guy has worked on. It's crazy.
And he directed Time Walker, which is also a legendary movie. But we'll tell that to people about that in a minute. Yeah. But yeah, like he was... I think he edited... He was the editor on Silent Night, Bloody Night. So he did work on that.
There we go. Yes, that's what
he edited trailers for those movies. But yeah, he worked in the advertising department of a company that did the trailers for those movies. So, he's not really a filmmaker, but he kind of knows how movies go together.
Are you sure about that?
Well, okay, think about it, though. So think about it. So you're talking about how many cuts were in this movie?
Yeah.
That's exactly how a movie trailer is made.
Exactly. This motherfucker. Cuts. He even did the Terminator.
He directed this movie the way he made...
Bro,
he directed this movie the way he would make a trailer for a movie.
How the hell did this guy... Hold on. Let's hold the phone here. How did this fucking guy, who did all these legendary, portfolio fucking advertising campaigns, trailers and shit for all these legendary movies. I mean, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, The Terminator, The Year of the fucking Living Dangerously, Star Trek The Motion Pictures, Wrath of Khan. What the fuck? And then he did...
Yeah, he worked on...
Then he did Time Walker.
Yes.
Fuck. What the hell happened?
This movie is at least as good as Star Trek 2.
I don't know about that, brother. All right, come on now. And then, I like how this one just, sucked, and he just went back to doing trailers and advertising again. It's like, that's good for me, and there ain't no sequel in this bullshit. All right.
I do think it's hilarious that that he was very optimistic about the sequel by the time he got to the end of this movie.
Yeah.
Too much so to put it to be continued at the end of it, but it was not continued. It was not continued.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, so you're saying he did the let me see that, because I swear I saw that. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's right. That's right. I see it here now. So Tom Kenny was the editor.
Yeah.
For he not only, but he edited. No wonder there was fucking cutscenes like you were saying. Yeah, because he edited Time Walker too, and he did Silent Night, Bloody Night, which, like, to be honest with you, like these two films right here can probably win awards for the lowest of low budgets. Okay, and not making sense movies of all time. This
movie makes perfect sense. But also, I mean, he spent $2 million almost on this. So, I mean, it's not like it's micro budget. I mean, you know, it is for today's standards, but, you know, it's...
I wonder if he spent half of it on that green vision.
I don't know. I mean, it was about the same amount of money that Friday the 13th cost, I think. Wasn't that around $2 million?
Yeah, but come on now.
And about the same amount as Halloween.
Fuck, but, come on now. What are you doing here? Don't do that. We're not doing that here. You gotta be kidding me with Time Walkers. Oh my god.
This movie's fantastic.
All right, well, let's put that to the test because I think it's about time that we visit the Time Walkers.
Space and time. Two dimensions we dream of conquering. But perhaps they have already been conquered. Not by man, but a form of intelligence far more evolved and far more powerful. A Time Walker. The discovery.
They simply sealed him alive in a corner of Tut's tomb.
The awakening.
This was in the coffin?
The search.
It looks like some kind of wiring schematic.
The power.
Nobody's that strong.
Crystals could be used as transmitters.
The cells are multiplying at a rate so fast, I can hardly measure it.
The confrontation.
It's definitely no longer dormant.
Time Walker. Now, our time belongs to him. The story of a journey home. Time Walker. Nothing can stop him, not even time.
All right, so we start off. Now, Alison, I got to ask you a question here that I forgot to bring up.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen... okay, we talked about this show before, and I'm not a fan of it, and you're not a fan of it. But I actually had to watch a little bit of it because of something about the movie that I skipped during our fucking, talk about the whole director and everything. So this movie actually did have another title. Okay.
It did.
Being from Another Planet.
It did.
All right. And so I could not find a copy. Okay. Because the one we watched, well, you had the DVD, right? Or something?
No, I watched it on Tubi.
Okay, cool. Because I didn't know if you had the physical copy or not. Because I watched it on Tubi too. And Tubi has the original. It's called Time Walker and has the original cut. Okay?
Yeah.
So the Being from Another Planet, okay, is the same exact movie, but there's only two differences. Okay? And like the two differences are the most lamest two differences of all time. Okay? So basically in Being from Another Planet, you get more of the Egypt scenery. Like you get more, like just more fucking stock footage.
More stock footage. Yes, yeah.
Stock footage of the fucking Egypt scenery. Because, when this one started out, we see the Earth. Then we get a close-up on Earth. Then we just get a bunch of close-up on, like, cathedrals looking shit. And then we figured out that we're in Egypt because these two guys are talking.
Yeah.
All right?
Well, you see pyramids.
Yeah, you see a couple.
Things like that.
Yeah. but the deadly one has a little bit more stock footage of it. Okay, and I'm not gonna spoil the ending. Okay, but in the deadly or being from another planet version, it doesn't have the to be continued, which we'll talk about. Okay, it doesn't have that, and it cuts to like this like negative face, and it does the credits. Negative
face of the alien?
I don't even know. It's just a random negative face. Like it's a face that's all negative.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that came out in like the early 90s.
Yeah.
When they tried to recut it, I guess, and like call it not call it Time Walker. I mean, like Time Walker. I mean that right there shows you exactly what this movie's about. Time Walker. Calling it Being from Another Planet is just stupid. That's just generic and just dumb. But yeah, I mean, Being from Another Planet reminds me of what?
Was he really a time walker? I mean,
yeah.
All he tried to do was collect his little marbles on his Star Trek stand.
It does kind of look like a 1960s Star Trek prop, like something that they made out of at wood shop.
Yeah, exactly.
At the college.
Well, wood shop, and then you put some steel on it. You know what I mean?
Or like, you didn't put steel on this. You just paint it gray with a spray can.
What's that game with the marbles? I used to have one of those back in the day. I had the marbles, right? You had to put it in like it's kind of like it's not. Is it Chinese checkers or no?
Chinese checkers is what I was thinking it was called. Yeah.
With the marbles, that's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of Chinese checkers, right? Mixed with that Star Trek symbol on the fucking thing.
What it reminded me of was the that little game, that little peg game they have at the Cracker Barrel when you're waiting on your food. Except it's marbles instead of pegs. That's what it looked like.
Oh,
but yeah, I don't know. I have something to say about Being from Another Planet, but I'll save it till the end of the. I'll save my rant till the end of the episode. Right. But yeah, let's get on this plot. Let's tell people about what this movie's about.
Okay, so tell me how this works, Alison, because I'm not, I am not Mr. Professor at like a college. All right, so maybe you can explain to me how this works. So we have our boy Doug. He's there, and I believe he's there with Wendell. Okay, and they're in King Tut's tomb. Okay.
Yes.
And there's a full name to it, but I would fucking kill it. Kill it.
Yeah.
Was it Tunkatang or something? I have no idea what it's called.
I think the way you actually pronounce it is Tutankhamun.
Yeah.
But they pronounce it here Tutankhamun, basically, which is how like most Americans pronounce it. But I'm pretty sure it's Tutankhamun.
Tutankhamun, brother. Get it in that team.
But we'll say King Tut.
Yeah. So they hear a bunch of noises, and they finally get into the tomb. They see a bunch of dead bodies everywhere, and they finally find the tomb itself. Yeah. And he is reading, the stuff off the tomb. And then we just cut, and then we see an airplane landing, and now we're at the California Institute of the Scientists. Or the Sciences.
Yeah, man, we don't waste any time.
We're not wasting no time.
We're back in California with the sarcophagus.
So what I was going to ask you is, if you're a professor at this Institute of the Sciences, you could just go to Egypt and steal a tomb?
Well, they did for centuries.
Okay, gotcha.
So, I mean, yes, you absolutely could do that, and they have done that many, 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 many times. So if you go to the Natural History Museum in London, you will see many, many, many stolen mummies, stuff like this, all through that museum. That the British would just go somewhere and decide they want something, and they would just bring it home with them. Inside the British Natural History Museum, there is an entire Greek temple that they went to Greece, in the 1800s or 1700s or whatever, and just brought it back with them. But yes, so that happened all the time.
So I guess our boy Doug is part of that practice, stealing shit.
Yeah, I mean, by the 80s, it was probably starting to slow down. But I do remember, though, when did this happen? So there was a huge push for King Tut stuff in the 80s.
Interesting.
And I wonder if it was around the time.
Was it for the?
Let's see.
Was it for the Rich and the Famous show? Like, hey, here's my King Tut shit guy over here. Did it have green fungi on it?
I don't think it had a green fungi. Actually, it might have been the late 70s. But there was a huge push for like in popularity of Egyptian stuff, and people became interested in ancient Egypt because they toured King Tut's mask, his burial mask, and stuff around the United States, and people could go into big cities and go to museums and see it. So I'm wondering if, because this movie was originally made in 1982, so I'm wondering if maybe like that popularity of that made them think, oh, we should do like a King Tut movie now. Because this movie is sort of a throwback. Like the influences on this are, you can definitely tell it's made like a Universal horror monster movie. And it's also really influenced, it seems like, by Eric von Daniken's Chariot of the Gods, which is a book. I don't know if you've ever read that. It's a book, so probably not. But
what's that supposed to mean? I read books here and there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I read the Hedge Knight from Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I didn't finish it. I got halfway through and I was like, I can find it on audio.
Through. But Chariot of the Gods was a book. There is a documentary too, but there's a movie or book that was written in the early 70s, and basically it's the beginning of what we think of as the ancient aliens theory now. So you could tell this was definitely influenced by that, where like, you know, supposedly the ancient Egyptians had technology that they could never have come up with on their own, so aliens must have given it to them, and that you can tell that was kind of an influence on this as well. But I can't remember the original question you asked me. But yeah, so King Tut was kind of popular sort of around the time of this, so that may be why they actually did this movie the way they did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so mummies.
So right. He had reason to steal the shit, basically what you're saying.
Yeah. So they would often do that. They would often steal mummies and things like that.
So they land, he's getting all his class, right, to bring the tomb in. And then I don't know if this girl is part of the class, maybe not. This girl named Linda. She takes a bunch of pictures, and she comes up later. And a very interesting fact about this actress that played Linda, this Sherry
Belafonte. Yeah, she's Harry Belafonte's daughter.
Yeah, she was on Playboy too, brother. Right?
Oh, okay.
And she did a bunch of other stuff too. So she's like one of the most successful people out of the film. So now they are looking up the tomb, and Doug realizes that it has the original seals on it, and he's like, this hasn't been open for 2,000 years.
Yep.
I was like, 2,000 years? Like, that's how long King Tut was gone for? 2,000? Like, really?
No, I don't think that's accurate. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, but I don't think that's
what kind of professor is this guy? Was it 2000? Was it before the dinosaurs were here? That's when King Tut was doing his thing.
It wasn't. No, it was a little newer than that. But yeah, it was. I think it was more than 2,000 years. I mean, I could be wrong, but
so they open it up. They see this little tomb piece on it. It was in perfect condition.
Yeah.
And they read this thing on there, and it said "noble traveler." Okay. And they're wondering, okay, that's kind of weird. And then they see that they're talking about the King Tut, and they basically, the big thing is the X-ray guy comes in there with the X-ray guy. His name is Sharpie, Peter Sharpie. He's kind of like the asshole teen at the time. All right. And he wants to do the X-rays on it. And everybody's kind of confused because they're not really sure why there would be a non-Egyptian wrapped in King Tut's tomb. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't King Tut. It was like something foreign to Egypt at the time. Like, they knew that right off the bat because of what the wording said. So they thought that was kind of weird. And then they noticed that the body is all wrapped up in this green powder stuff at the time. That would later turn on to green fungi. So he dismisses everybody. Okay. We're left with Doug and his college squeeze. Susie?
Yes. So Susie is a student, right?
I guess.
So
Her role was
she's played by Nina Axelrod, but
Yeah.
she is a student. She's a student that's like openly fucking a professor.
Yeah.
So I guess in the
Everybody's
80s
cool
this
with
was
it.
like a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about this
good.
before
Yeah.
in other episodes where it just seems perfectly normal for a professor to fuck a student. But
Yeah,
I guess
fuck
this was
all that,
normal in 1980.
Yeah, brother. They don't have all those laws saying, well, I can't fuck the students. It's required.
No. Yeah,
You gotta have one
want an A.
good-looking professor, and he should be banging at least 1 or 2 students a semester. Okay?
Yeah.
It's required in there. So they start X-raying this mummy piece, and the X-ray radiation is like super high. All right, and then Peter he just blames it on some kids doing it. Okay, so we can see that the radiation made the green fungi stuff grow a little bit. All right, remember that for later. Okay,
it's a key plot point.
So now the Sharpie guy, Peter. I mean, I'll just call him Sharpie because that's a funnier name. Even though his name is Sharp, but I like saying Sharpie better. So because
it ends with an E for some reason.
Yes. So he, all right, is looking at these X-rays that they took of the mummy thing, and he notices like on one of the X-rays there's like 3 little balls in the corner. So he goes up to the tomb, opens it up and stuff, and he pulls out 3 marbles.
Well, he thinks it's jewelry.
Yes. Yeah,
and he's going to be rich because he's going to steal the jewelry.
Well, kind of. I mean, he only sold one of them.
Well, he didn't sell any of them because the pawn shop guy told him they were worthless. But but that's what his intention is. He's going to steal the jewels.
But okay, so because this kind of makes sense because of what they said earlier. Like I guess like Egypt kings or whatever, they would be buried with their possessions.
Right.
So, but he pulls out the marbles or the crystals. I call them marbles, but they call them crystals in this movie.
They're crystals, yes.
Well, maybe they're marbles.
No, they're crystals.
Well, looks like you can
crystals,
play.
Kind of like
marbles. It goes on the fucking Star Trek thing. You don't put crystals on a Star Trek thing. You put marbles.
They're crystals, kind of like the ones that Bat sells. Are crystals.
I wonder if I can get $300 out of one of them too.
I don't know. Maybe you can.
All right. So his plan is like he wants to, like you said, he wants to keep them and try to sell them. So he's trying to hide the X-rays. And I don't know how this makes sense. Like this guy doesn't think out stuff right. So he gets like 2. He does another X-ray on it, right? Another X-ray for the full body one, and he puts the 2 X-rays that don't have the marbles on it in one pouch, and then he puts the one that does in another pouch, and he holds them together. And I guess his plan was just to give him, the Susie and Doug the X-rays, slide it to the door, and he's gonna take the other one. But Jack Parker, the top engineer for Douglas's adventure for Tomb Raider stuff, all right, he intertwines them, and then Sharpie he like loses the X-ray, all right, underneath the little vent, all right.
Right. So his intention is he made an X-ray, and that's how he knows the jewels are there. So he breaks in, steals the jewels, and then he makes another X-ray so that he'll have an X-ray to give to Doug that doesn't show the jewels there.
Yeah.
And he's put them together to see if they match up good enough, and they do. But he doesn't get a chance to destroy the other one, which comes into play later on in the movie.
And so, the big thing about this is Doug and the crew, they're trying to get the mummy prepared to show it off to the press because it's going to be something really big for the school that they're in, like this big discovery. So, and then the thing is the Captain Wendell, he wants to have this like happen quickly. You know what I mean? Like we land, we take a couple steps, and we're gonna be out here tomorrow. All right, so they're trying to hurry up, and then what Doug and all them are trying to do right now is figure out what is this green fungi on this fucking thing. We gotta see if it's dangerous or not. So they took a little sample and they sent it off to their lab guy Ken. All right, to check out all this green mold shit.
Also, the guy that played Wendell is James Karen, who was in Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, there you go.
He was the old guy that was telling the other guy about the zombies.
Yes.
So that's the same guy.
And we actually have two people that we're going to be seeing here soon. I believe it's the lieutenant, and it was the
Lieutenant Plumber.
Yeah, Lieutenant Plumber, and it was I think it might have been Jack, but they were both in John Carpenter's Precinct. Assault on the Precinct.
Oh, Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah. So they were on there. And I believe the Lieutenant Plumber, he's actually in a lot of John Carpenter's films. He's also in The Fog that we'll be doing here on the show pretty soon.
Yeah. He's from North Carolina, by the way.
Oh, there you go. There you go, brother. He had that look, sternness on there. All right. So the big thing is, that, like you said, they're trying to figure out what this green mold stuff is on there. And... You know, another plot point too is the one of the students, Mike. He actually got some of the green powder on his hand. All right, but we'll see what happens to him on his next scene. So basically, they're about to prepare the first. Doug and Susie, they noticed that there's like when they're looking at the X-rays that Sharpie gave to them. They saw that there's like a little hidden pouch area, and they went to go check that hidden pouch area, and it was empty. So not only did the marbles go away, okay, but the Star Trek memorabilia toy was away as well too, and it's just a bunch of green algae. And Doug, he's freaking out. He's like, we got to study this before we can, expose this green substance to a big mass audience.
Right, exactly.
All right, so so Ken's there, and they're like minutes away from like unveiling this tomb to everybody, and he's trying to call Wendell and say we gotta stop it, and then the Wendell just hangs up on his ass. Okay, so all the press gets there, everybody's all there and everything. We have Susie and Michael; they're standing by to guard it, and I'm thinking this Michael guy has like a OCD of touching things. Because he looks right at the fucking tomb. He sees the little green fungi thing, and he just touches it. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, brother, just leave that shit alone. Like, they've been talking this whole fucking movie. Don't talk. Already, they said don't touch the green shit, and you just touched it. So this idiot touches the green shit, and he just fucking hands it and starts burning. Yeah. And send him on out of there.
His fingers.
Yeah. Okay? And then that's when, Doug's all freaking out about this thing, being showed to the public. Wendell comes in there, doesn't give a shit, does his whole speech about how great this tomb is and everything. It's a big discovery to the world. So they open it up, all right, and they're trying to unveil the mummy, and the mummy's gone.
Uh-oh.
There's a hoax.
Where could it be?
Where'd it go?
It was a hoax.
All right. So everybody's all making fun of him now. Like there was a bunch of cutscenes of Wendell watching the show, and somebody's making fun of him that somebody stole it. And I do like it when they cut to like this round table. It's like Wendell, the security guard sheriff of the school, Willoughby. All right, and his assistant Bruce were all blaming Sharpie about it because he was the last one to be there. And I like how Bruce was all like, "Listen, man, I used to be in a frat. I know how it all is. Just give us back the mummy." So they all blame the mummy disappearance on a frat house for a joke.
Which I guess maybe fraternities did stuff like that in the 80s. They stole mummies. And stuff
okay,
like
that makes sense.
I don't know. Who knows?
I thought they'd be too drunk to figure out even what's going on.
Oh, maybe you're probably right.
So Wendell, his big thing is like, I'm gonna find this mummy, or else I'm gonna shut every frat house down. All right. And then Sharpie, he's blaming Jack on taking it because Jack was there too. Okay. How come no one's blaming Doug and shit? They were there. All right. So now, like Doug, he kind of wants to go to the police. You know what I mean? Because like he's like saying like, you know, this fungi stuff could be kind of dangerous. Like maybe we should like get the cops to be over here. And they're like, no, we don't need the cops. That's what Wendell and all of them said. So now we have Ken and Doug. They're looking at the cells of the fungi, and they're noticing that this fungi, like it likes to absorb things, and it likes to absorb and eat flesh.
It just eats away at you. Like it dissolved that dude's hand.
Exactly. So Doug goes visit that Mike guy, and his hand's all fucked up. All right. And he's all calm about it and everything. And Doug asked the doctor, was like, hey, is his hand going to be okay? And she's like, we probably got to cut that shit off.
Oh, yeah.
Just cut it all off, brother.
It was all like black and you got to get rid of it.
There's, you know, all these doctors, man, they just want to cut shit off all the time. Like, just amputate it. It'd be all good. All right. But this guy's hand, it was pretty fucked. Like, it was pretty melted and everything. So now we have our boy Sharpie. He is doing some peeping Tom. All right. Mm-hmm. Staring at some titties in this movie. And that was really, it was really interesting. So this, I don't know about you, Alison, but this movie said PG.
Yeah.
When I turned it on.
Well.
80s PG is a little different.
It was, yeah. I mean, this is before PG-13. But yeah, I mean, this movie could not be PG or PG-13 today. If people are too conservative, this movie would be straight rated R today.
Well, I mean, if you cut out the tit part, it might go. Maybe. No, actually, no. I don't think it could even do PG. I couldn't. This one could not be PG at all. PG-13, I could see it. So now, Sharpie's girlfriend, okay, she catches him peeping Tommen, all right, and he starts apologizing to her and everything. And he makes it up by giving her a necklace, and the necklace has the crystal on it. Okay? And she's all happy about it. Now, Sharpie goes to sell one of the crystal marbles to Greg. All right? And if you try to sell or do anything with a person named Greg, it's going to be all fucked up. All right?
Right.
Those damn Gregs.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Greg fucked everything up.
Everything.
We've come to find out.
So he's all like, this shit is worthless. He's like, okay, can you at least give me $300? And then he's telling Greg, let's just imagine giving this to your girlfriend. She'll do whatever you want. All right. So then Sharpie comes back into the car. And he's like, which restaurant do you want to go, baby? So he was successful of selling one of them for $300. That's what I got out of it.
Right, I think. It looks like he did sell. Yeah, it looks like he did sell one for $300.
So Willoughby, he has noticed that the electrical room has been fucked with, and he's calling this Willoughby guy. Really didn't do anything through this whole movie. Like he does do one of my favorite scenes at one of his movies in this movie coming up soon. But he was to be the dumb cop of the movie. All right. So now we meet Linda, and her gimmick is she's not only a photographer, but she's also on the KCIS radio.
Yes. So my perspective of this is like this was an attempt to get Sherry Belafonte into a movie.
Yes.
And the only thing she really does is she comes into play at the very end to take pictures.
Yeah. Well, she's on the radio.
But she doesn't really do much else in the movie. Yeah, she's the radio DJ for the entirety of the rest of this movie, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. For the school, brother. If you go to the California Science Institute, you can have your own radio DJ.
Yeah.
Playing such relaxing tunes as math and science.
Exactly. That's exactly what college radio stations do.
Gotcha. So the big thing is Doug, he wants to, over the radio, plead with these frat kids who are on these really... So this is another thing. So this is like a specialty school for the sciences and stuff, but we still got drunk frat dudes there, right? Did I got that right?
Yes.
So we got the dumb jocks, all right, but they're really good at science at least. So at least we got that going for us. So now Sharpie taking his girl out to a nice restaurant, you know what I mean? Drinking some champagne and everything, some wine. And then he gets visited by two of his buddies. All right? One of them definitely his name is Bill. And there's another one there too. And they're making fun of him and stuff. You know what I mean? Saying like, how you be in this fucking restaurant and shit when you owe us $50? You know what I mean? He's like, oh fuck. He's like, so they take his money that he got from the fucking Greg guy. All right? And he's saying like, hey man, you know, I got something better for you guys. If y'all give your girls one of these crystal things, you know what I mean? And then now the crystals are starting to light up everywhere. Okay? Because the mummy, alien mummy fungi creature guy, he is hanging out,
moving around.
Yeah, he's moving around now. So this is the drinking game, guys. All right. Every time you hear me say green vision, you can take a sip of your beer, take a shot, do whatever you want.
I mean, come on, be realistic. If we didn't have the green vision in this movie, how else would we know what the mummy that was the mummy that was looking at people?
I don't know. You could have fucking he could have just creeped up in the background.
I mean, maybe, but that's how you can tell he's looking at something. And I mean, the mummy looked really cool. Like, did you not like the way the mummy outfit looked? It looked awesome.
It looked okay. It was kind of hard to see because it was like dark and he just had like a little crystal thing in his heart.
It was a little dark, but yeah, I mean, it looked great, man. He was like had the rabbits hanging off his arms. It looked great. It was awesome.
So Sharpie makes a deal with his buddies. He gives them the marbles, all right, and then he doesn't have to pay him off, and they all agree. All right. So now we have one of the guys. He goes over to his girlfriend's house, is babysitting. Okay. And this is when there's a lot of cutscenes, so I'm just telling you all what's happening. It doesn't have to be in order and shit. Okay. So he's so excited about getting she's babysitting and the parents will be home until midnight. So it's like, all right, it's time to bone. So they're about to bone and stuff. But he drops the necklace in the baby's crib. All right. And you think there's going to be some sort of payoff to it, but there's not. Okay. So then he grabs the necklace and puts it back. And by the way, this character I'm talking about is Greg. So he's the one from the pawn shop. They gave his girl the necklace. So they're about to be boning and everything. And then they hear a noise. All right. So the girl goes and investigated it. And it's actually the green mummy thing touches her. All right. And of course, you know, because he has that fungus that eats the flesh. So he touches her on the throat. And then she dies and Greg sees it. And then we cut. All right.
Yeah, you're going to hear that a lot. And then we cut. But yeah, but did you not see the little burn on her throat? That looked cool where the mummy grabbed her and got the crystal. That was awesome. So, you know, they got the thing out of the kids. The kid's crib didn't really come out because he just grabbed the fucking necklace. All right. So now we have the cops are over there. This is finally when we meet Lieutenant Plummer. All right. And he's showing up. He's talking to everybody. And, you know, the Doug and all, they're saying, like, you know, we might need we possibly might need to have the play controllers. What do you call that? You know, the ones that have to control the town. You know, for the CDC.
The CDC, yeah.
Center for Disease Control.
Yeah, we might have to have that there because the girl had some of the green fungi on her. Okay? So they're not jumping to that conclusion right away, but they're trying to get there. Okay? So now they're like, okay, where's Greg? It's like, well, we have... Okay, this is actually one of my favorite scenes in this movie. So the Greg character, he's in shock, right? And we have the guard sheriff on. I don't know if he was a real cop or he was just the guard of the school, Willoughby. But he's talking to Greg, right? And he's all like, "Who was he? Was he black? Was he white? What the hell?" And he starts slapping his ass. And they was walking like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "I don't got any leads, and this asshole saw the guy. He won't tell me if he was a black guy or a white guy." I was like.
Yeah, I thought that was a little weird, but yeah. So Willoughby, you're right. I'm not sure if Willoughby is a security guard or if he's a cop. I'm pretty sure he's a cop because he has a gun. I don't know if.
Yeah, I'm about to say, like, how hardcore is this fucking school? We gotta have an armed security guard. Like, these fucking scientist guys are too crazy. Where are they gonna?
I don't even think that guns are allowed on universities at all.
He was carrying around like no problem.
but he was. But when he was talking to me, he's like, "Why was he black?" And I'm like, "Well, we're going there real quick."
Yeah, didn't he save it by saying
assumed
white?
As a black dude.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. Did he saved it with the white one? I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So
come on, you didn't really mean that. You didn't really mean was he white. You meant he was black, right? That's what you meant.
That's what he meant. So Lieutenant Plummer's there now. He tells him the Willoughby to go fuck off, and he talks about, "Hey, man, what did you see?" And then Greg, he's in a shocked state of mind, and he says, "Mummy." And then, of course, the doctor was like, okay, he's just in a shock. Like, I'm going to go take him off somewhere. And then Doug asked about Mike, and they're saying, like, yeah, we probably got to laser his hand off. I was like,
laser it off.
So now we have Peter. All right.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to the control room. Okay. And we have more green vision. It's in the... I said the boiler room, but I guess the control room is the same as the boiler room. Okay.
No, it's the reactor, isn't it? Don't they call it the reactor?
Yeah, the reactor room. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now the mummy is now collecting. He's now putting all his crystal marbles onto his Star Trek display. Okay, one by one.
Come on, man. This is the prop they made for this movie. Then this is his little communication device thing. So it's kind of like, it's like a cross between like E.T. and the Mummy and, some movies like that. But yeah, he's putting them all, he's collecting them all one by one. And he's putting them all in his little communication device.
So Ken meets with Doug. And they're talking about these X-rays. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're when they look at the X-rays, they can see the organs, and they notice that the organs are not like a normal person. They're all like different.
Right.
They're all like just So we're getting hints that obviously whoever's in this tomb is not of the human race. Human. Yes.
Right.
So now they're reading this scroll that they found. All right, saying that so the story is now we get some backstory.
We get backstory now.
So
it's deep.
Yes, it's deep over here. So basically, what happened is there's this being that landed, all right, in Egypt during whenever King Tut was ruling, and they all thought this thing was a god because that's what you think back in the day when you see something you don't know about. So they all go up to it and they're gonna act like it's a god and everything. And then King Tut and all his servants or whatever that are by there, they all went missing.
Yeah.
Okay. And the story basically was that the creature thing, okay, like if you touched it, you basically, like we've been seeing, you get eaten by the fungus. Mm-hmm. And that's basically what happened with the King Tut and all his creature things. Okay. And then they all got locked into the tomb area. Now, I don't think they explained why the alien went into the tomb thing, but he was basically, he got locked into that room or something. I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, no, they don't really explain it, but you could think of it as, I think what happened, and I can't actually remember if they tell this story or not, but they tell like a part of the story where he's like not affected by the radiation or the alien being because he's not from the Earth. He's actually an alien. And but then I'm sure that he gets, it's like the classic story. Like they overcome the being from another planet, and then they mummify him and put him in this tomb, and then dumbass white people 2,000 years later find it.
Yeah, that's basically what's going on. So Wendell's mad now about the paper because the paper is making fun of him about not having a real mummy there. And now everybody on campus wants to have a mummy party.
Yes.
All right. So that's what's going on with them.
Which you can tell that the mummy party that they have is a plot point so that the mummy itself doesn't stick out and get reported when people see it. Yeah. Because they just think it's someone in a costume.
Yes. So Stanley, that was the other guy that was got a marble from Sharpie. All right. Mm-hmm. He gives his marble to his girlfriend Susie. All right. Mm-hmm. And she says like So Stanley. Stanley is the guy.
He wants to date Susie.
Yeah, he wants to date Susie. My bad. So
But Susie's fucking Doug.
Exactly, and he brings that up.
Professor. Yeah.
He's like, hey, so you still fucking that professor guy, or are we gonna be good? And she gets all pissy. Oh, what do you mean I'm fucking him and everything? He's like, all right, just take this shit. I don't want it. Just remind me of you out of here. This is the weirdest conversation I've ever seen.
Yeah.
All right, so I did basically everybody knows that Doug and Susie are fucking, basically. Okay, they ain't no secret here.
No, I was about to say later on something happens where there's no secret at all.
Yeah,
like he's just open about it.
Exactly. So we have Willoughby and some other cops scared by a bunch of rats. We see some more green vision, this time in a garage room. So everybody start drinking. Yeah. We're back at the reactor complex. All right, we see some green shit everywhere. Okay, because the mummy's been there, so he leaves his fungi behind,
and the fungus is spreading. Yeah.
Yes. So now we see Jack's girlfriend, and then we see Peter's girlfriend, Sharpie's girlfriend, and Sharpie is now in full mummy gear, and he starts to scare a little bit of Jack's girlfriend. Okay. But then Jack tells him to cut that shit off, and then he goes and leaves with Sharpie leaves with his girlfriend, who's dressed up like Cleopatra. All right,
Cleopatra. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah,
and they leave, and then Jack and his girlfriend stay behind because they don't party, brother. Our boy Jack, he's too serious with his engineer science role.
Yep,
too serious to go out there and party, brother. Okay. So they go to a 1980s 2 mummy party.
Yes.
All right. And I was trying to figure out what beer they were drinking. I think it's Kuros.
Could be. Yeah, I didn't actually notice.
Didn't Kuros have that yellow can before?
Yeah, Kuros had a yellow can. Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that's the beer that man. I gotta see the beer. And that's the most important part of the little movie. So during this, we see more green outside. Everybody take your Coors shot. All right. That'd be kind of fun. When we start doing this on video.
Video, yeah.
I think if we watch the movie and we see them drinking a Budweiser, we should drink the beer on the. You know what I mean?
That would be awesome. Yeah, we should definitely.
Now I don't know if we can have the can on there. We might get flagged, but maybe I can we could tell the people what we're drinking. Even though most of that beer kind of sucks, but it would be kind of funny. We're partying with them on there. It's a good idea. So now this part was actually kind of funny too. All right, so Bill's there. All right, and he's looking for his girl. All right, but he's dressed up in his Egypt gear too. Yeah. So so we see a couple things. So first we see Sharpie. He interrupts this guy kissing this girl on a bench. So the guy gets pissed. I just called him Green Flannel Guy. Okay.
Yeah, this is a recurring joke because he's trying to kiss this girl on a bench and he keeps getting interrupted by different people.
Exactly. So he first gets interrupted by Sharpie, then he gets interrupted by Bill, and this guy, he just he's pissed. But then he also gets interrupted by the mummy.
Right. The actual mummy, yes.
Yes. So it's all three of these people keep interrupting his ass, and all he does to do is make out with this blonde chick on a bench. Come on, brother. All right. So then Bill sees his girl that he's looking for. Okay, and there's this. I don't even get with this plot point at all because it just was there. So he's looking for this girl named Sarah. All right, and he's like, "Hey, Sarah," and then he's like, "Hey, Sarah, what's going on?" And then Sarah just jumps into the fucking car with this 1980s dude with blonde hair, and he says, "Oh, there's only room for 2. Ha ha ha." And then they just drive off, and Bill's like, "Oh, fuck, I guess I won't be with women anymore." And then you got a horde of women coming up to his ass. All right? And he's like, "Okay, let me go pick up this necklace." And then he gets grabbed and shoved away by the fucking mummy. All right? And I'm thinking, wait a minute. Wasn't there just a horde of women? They didn't see anything?
I guess not. I guess they did not see that.
I guess because they weren't on the camera shot.
I guess not, yes.
So he gets thrown against the fucking wall. All right. And then now the mummy has another marble with him for his collection.
Yeah.
Okay. So now he goes back and he starts putting it on his Star Trek symbol. So I put it in my notes. Okay. So now Jack. So I guess every time I guess maybe like every 2 marbles or something, when he puts the marbles on his Star Trek looking device, the power starts getting all fucked up. All right. And we find out why later. But now Jack has to go check the power because he noticed the power's going in and out a little bit. And he wants to make sure it's not a power drain. Because, he's serious. Our boy Jack over here. All right. So he's going to the room and we can see more green vision of the mummy in the reactor room. Y'all drunk yet? Or you will be.
You will be.
So Willoughby shows up, all right, to the reactor area as well too, and he sees Jack leave, and they talk a little bit, outside, all right, and they kind of say some words to each other. So now Parker's walking, Jack Parker, he's walking outside. Now he sees Bill on the ground, and the party that was in the mummy party has now gone inside the house into a Tonga line.
Yes, that's great.
So
where they're all doing the conga.
Yeah, the conga outside, yes. And then Sharpie is still in his mummy gear, stops, and he sees Bill on the floor. All right, and then we find out that Bill's dead. All right.
Because the mummy smashed him against the wall.
Yes. And the plumber's there. All the people are there now. Plumber and all of them are there. Doug's there. He gets waked up in the middle of the night. He's on there too. And Sharpie just wants to blame it all on Jack. He thinks he killed him. But Plumber's like, there's no possible way. Bill has every bone in his body broken.
Mm-hmm.
Every bone.
And Jack couldn't do that.
Every single bone.
Yeah, everyone.
His pinky bone, his
every bone. He said every bone, he means every bone.
Okay, listen. These guys are supposed to be fucking scientists. So you telling me this fucking mummy just stretched him away on a wall, and that one wall broke all his bones?
Well, now, in fairness, the person that said that was a detective, not a scientist. But yes, this is a very strong mummy, and when he smashed him against the wall, it broke all of his bones.
But no fungus. Was there fungus on him or not?
That I actually can't remember if there was fungi.
I don't remember saying
he was just dead from the bone breaking.
Well, that sounds way cooler. Dead by bone breaking.
Yes.
So that's why he's talking about all that now. And of course, like I said, Sharpie was blaming Jack on it, but he said there's no way. And then now we see the mummy. He now looks at the moon like he wants to go home.
That scene looked awesome. Where he's standing there, looking up at the moon. That was fucking great. So good.
So Plumber is now talking to Wendell, about all the murders and stuff. And basically, Lieutenant Plumber just thinks it's some sort of maniac. Some wild maniac out here.
Yeah, he thinks it's a serial killer.
All right, and then now Doug is talking to the staff about this fungi. And he brings up the old guys. First of all, this fungi, it ain't from Earth. And you know that little cloth we found and shit? Yeah, that material is not from Earth either. What if this is an alien creature? All right, and basically everybody was all like, nah, it's not. We're scientists, remember? We find the scientific stuff. So it ain't no fucking alien.
Right, so they won't accept that it's an alien.
Yes.
But they do accept that there's a mummy, a 2,000-year-old mummy that's walking.
No.
They do accept that.
No. They don't know the mummy's moving around now.
Oh, true. You're right. They don't know that yet. I forgot.
So I guess so Doug is kind of like
they think somebody stole the mummy. They think somebody stole the mummy.
Yeah. So basically they're led to believe it's some sort of killer on campus.
Right. Okay.
Maybe it's Jason.
There
you go. He could have broke every bone in the body. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes sense. Teenagers killing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
maybe that's what they were thinking of more than an alien, right? If they would have said that in this movie, that would have been fantastic. But I don't think. Yeah. Friday the 13th Part 2 happened by then. I think.
Yeah.
So.
But he wasn't a super
that's right.
powered killer yet.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah, that would be later. Oh boy, I bet you if this was made in 1985, they probably would have done the Jason joke. That's for sure. So now, so Doug now has a dream about mummies stalking him, but it was just a dream. So now he wakes up, and his college girl Squeeze is sitting there. He's like, "Oh, Susie, you just had a bad dream, Susie." They start talking a little bit about this alien angle, and then they notice the reflection from her pearl bracelet shows a map, or like a parts of a maybe not a map, but like some plans,
like a diagram, or schematic is what they call it. But I also think this scene is weird because she's not in the bed with him; she's just sitting in a chair watching him sleep. Apparently,
well, yeah, I mean, come on, she's like infatuated with the guy. She's like, not only am I banging some sort of like professor who works out and everything and has nice flowy 80s hair, all right, but he'll love me forever. You know what I mean? He's not going to wait for the next girl the next semester and jump my ass. No. So that's why I got to sit here and wait for him and sleep.
Yeah, make sure he's okay.
So she figures it out because she recognizes, like, hey, wait, my brother used to work on it. Her brother still happened to work on radios.
Yeah.
All right. So she recognizes the pattern of this. Of it being
because it looks like a schematic, for a radio or for something,
for basic connection device to obviously this is going to be the plot point is like right in front of you. They're like, okay, well, this is an alien. He's trying to collect all these marbles to call his race of aliens so they can do
so he can
know what,
so he can phone home.
Yeah, like E.T. brother,
like E.T.
Yeah,
except this is before E.T. So E.T. kind of ripped this off.
Yeah. So now we have Doug and Ken. Okay, they are now. Okay, so this part was a little funny. So now Doug, Ken, and Susie all meet up, right? And they look at that piece of paper and they notice, like, okay, that piece of paper is just like the reflection off the crystal, where it's like this, like, radio communication. So Doug sends Susie to the library to do a little bit more research. Okay.
On the microfiche machine, which is how you can tell this was made in 1982.
Yes. Okay. So, but they sent her there with the crystal.
Yeah. Well, they don't know the crystals are dangerous yet.
Yeah. But they find that out soon, though. Okay. Because I guess they were doing a little bit more research and they realized that the crystal, or something everything was glowing, and they're just kind of. I think they realized, like, oh shit, she might be in danger. Okay.
Right. So it doesn't make sense. You're right. It doesn't make sense other than for the plot point for them to send her with their crystal. Like, they know the crystal is important to what's going on. So why don't they just take it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of like leaving it with her, because they know it reflects. When you shine light through it, it shows the thing on the screen. But like, the funny part of that, though, before she goes to the library, in the very next cut, when she tells the story about her brother working on the radios, and she's like, "That looks like the things that my brother used to do to build when he built radios." And then in the very next cut, they're showing it to that other guy, and then he's like, "It looks like a schematic." And she's like, "You mean like a radio?"
Yeah.
It's like, okay, didn't we just go over this about radios? And she's just going on and on about this being a radio. But it kind of is a radio in a way because he's trying to call home. But yeah, then they send her for some reason with the, they send her to the library with the crystal so that the mummy can chase her.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? They, girl, they like their jewelry.
Right.
So we're seeing more green vision. Everybody drink. And then we have more green vision of the library.
Yep.
So you double drink. All right, keep going. Just drink the whole beer right now. Okay, you're already gonna be fucked up. Okay,
might as well.
So Susie's bracelet starts lighting up. Okay, and she notices like the mummy's coming after her. And I think one of the fun parts I like with this cut scene that we see here, because this is cutting like back and forth like it's fucking 1,000 miles an hour. But one funny scene was like when like Doug and Ken figure out like Susie's in danger. They walk, they power walk to the fucking library. It's like, well, she's not in that much danger. We don't have to run.
They don't run.
Yeah,
they don't run. They just kind of walk real fast. Kind of fast.
So now Susie's all freaking out. She's getting chased by this mummy. She gets chased all the way up to the elevator. Okay, so we have this big elevator scene with the mummy trying to break through the elevator floor. She gets out of there.
To the bottom of the elevator, yeah. And then she climbs to the top of the elevator.
She climbs to the top, and they have to stare off. And you can see that her bracelet's lighting, and you can see that he has a marble in his chest.
Yeah.
All right, so
go ahead.
I was
about to say, the elevator set in this is probably the most expensive thing they made for this movie.
Yeah, man. Come on now. You got to have an elevator in attack in 80s movies. Come on. What are you doing?
That was awesome. Yeah.
So
it was great.
So now she's like running away still, and then like so this part was a little weird. So the part where the mummy's on the top of the building and she's on the down part of the stairs. Yeah. She sees that her bracelet's lighting up. She sees that's lighting up. All right. Yeah. Like you think you would figure out like, oh shit, I think the thing wants that. No, she just runs with it still on. All right.
Yeah, she doesn't take it off. She even says later that she's like, I felt like he didn't want to hurt me. He just wanted the bracelet.
Yeah, exactly. Because she gets on some more stairs, and the mummy just shows up and pushes her ass off the stairs. And I guess in the meantime, I
thought she just kind of fell when he took the crystal back.
Oh, okay, she fell. I didn't know if he pushed her or not. But yeah, she fell off the stairs and stuff when he took it. But she got lucky. She didn't get no green fungi on her or nothing.
And because he didn't touch her.
Yeah.
So because we'll find out in a few minutes that if the mummy. I don't know why he doesn't do this with everybody else. If the mummy just holds out his hand, the crystal will jump into his hand. He can just pull it back.
Well, there won't be a horror movie.
He does that in a minute. Well, that's true.
Because these are the main characters we want to be alive, so we have to.
Right. So we can't. Yeah. We can't fungi her. Yeah. Then she falls off the ladder.
Yeah.
And
then we
smashes her face apparently on the right. And we cut.
We cut to her in the hospital now with a big ass bruise on her face. Oh, I'm okay. Everything's fine. And she's basically like you were saying. She's saying like, yeah, I feel like I just wanted these crystals more than it wanted, me and everything.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. And then Doug out of nowhere just like kissing her in front of everybody. I was like, okay, well, fuck. I mean, fuck. Who cares about student, fucking teacher relations over here, brother?
No, that wasn't a big deal.
They got fun. Yeah, they don't give a shit about that. All right.
No.
So I thought that part was great. So now he's talking to, they're talking to Plumber a little bit, and then Plumber, he thinks it's still just some like fucking sick person out there, and the Susie's basically like saying like, listen guys, like you might think I'm crazy and everything, but it was the mummy. He was walking around, okay, and they all still think she's crazy. So now Doug is he's talking to Susie, and she's saying it was the mummy, it's alive and everything. All right, and he wanted all the crystals. Okay, so they got to go check to see if there's more crystals. Like we said, Doug kisses her and everything. And then now the mummy, he's pulling wire. All right, he's killing all these wires and stuff. So during all the mummy with his pulling wire and everything, when Doug, I believe it was Doug and Ken, I think it's Doug and Jack. It's either Doug and Jack or Doug and Ken. They find the extra X-ray that Sharpie hid.
Yeah,
the little vent thing.
Yeah, right.
And they're looking at it like, oh, what the hell? Where did this come from? You know what I mean? They find out there's actually 5 marbles. Okay, still left. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to figure out, about all these marbles and stuff. And they realize that it was, it was Sharpie. All right, so they go confront Sharpie at his house, saying like, "Hey, man, we need these fucking marbles and shit." All right, where the rest? Yeah, where the rest of them?
Right.
All right. These marbles are killing everybody. All right, even though they survived, even though my squeeze, my 18-year-old squeeze, was okay, but it killed everybody else.
Yes.
So he's like, "Where's the rest of them?" He's like, "Well, I got one here, but then I gave one to my girlfriend Sherry." All right. He's like, "Well, give her a call right now." All right. So he goes and calls her, right? Just easily at work. All right. And he's like, "Well, she's not at work, but she left the crystal in the bathroom." And then Jack's like, "Oh no, that's where my girlfriend's at." He starts freaking out. And then we get more green vision.
Yes, we do. Because the mummy's now chasing Jack's girlfriend.
Well, no. Yes, because that's where one of the last crystals are at.
That's where the crystal is.
Because he has 3. He already had 3 of them, right? And then now he's looking for the last 2. Okay.
Yeah.
So now Jack figured everything out. All right. He is all like, he needs the Star Trek thing to put the crystals on there. He also needs to learn how to power it. And he's basically powering it from the reactor room. So we figured out that's the power source. Okay. So that's where they figure out, like, the mummy's basically where he's like stationed himself at now. So now Jack, he goes down to the, try to get to the house. Okay. And so his girlfriend's home with her name is Jen. Found her name on my notes finally. Mm-hmm. And she is taking she's basically taking a shower. All right. But this is still a PG horror movie, brother, so we can't show everything. But she's basically
we do show some.
A little bit.
She boobs.
Yeah, right. So the mummy gets in there. I like it how, like, she takes the crystal that's not her necklace. She tries it on. Mm-hmm. Then she takes it off. Then she goes into the shower. Mummy comes in the house, opens the shower, and looks at her like this is psycho. All right? He looks at her a little bit, and he just takes the crystal and leaves. So maybe he just wanted to see some titties.
Maybe he just wanted to see her naked, but there's no. He kind of menaces her for no reason because all he wants is the crystal back, and then he just takes the crystal from the thing, and then that's pretty much it.
I mean, come on, like this alien mummy creature, he hasn't seen titties in 2,000 years.
Exactly. So you
got to see a little bit of it. All right,
exactly.
Come on now. So Parker gets in there. All right, and then
we forgot the part where. So the mummy is looking at her through the window, and then we see that it's levitating, like it's just floating in the air.
Oh yeah. He could float too. You know what I mean? Mm. It's kind of like Apocalypse, maybe.
Kind of
very similar. Locked in a tomb, levitates. Could be a mutant.
Could be.
Yeah,
he's an alien, not a mutant.
We're watching that. The X-Men 97, you been watching that shit or no?
No, I'm kind of behind on that. I need to watch it because I was going to rewatch the old animated series, but I didn't get it finished before it started.
Bro, it's so good.
So I'm going to watch it, but I'm probably going to wait and just binge the whole thing.
It's so good. Like, I think like when it's over, I might have to do like a whole show about it because I love that.
Okay.
That was like one of my favorite like cartoon series of all time was the X-Men.
Oh yeah,
and the Spider-Man
animated series is so good. Yeah, those are so good, so good.
Very good. You can watch it still to this day. There's some parts about it. The old one are like, whoa, okay, this is quick. It's kind of like this movie where everything goes really quick. But they're telling. They could tell a better story in 30 minutes than this one could. That's all I gotta say.
Well, I mean that's debatable, but have you seen the Fantastic Four animated series from around the same time? It's good too.
I didn't really get into that one. But let's get back on track here.
Let's get back on track.
But we'll do that maybe for a special. We'll talk about the X-Men because I really want to like that show.
Sure.
So now Doug, he has now arrived at the reactor room. All right, and he's going in there, and he's going to put one of them little crystal marbles on the Star Trek device. And during this, actually happened a little bit before Doug went in there. But Bruce, he has an idea, all right, to save face, all right? He tells Wendell and Willoughby, he's like, why don't we blame Doug on everything? Let's frame his ass. Yes. So he wants to frame his ass to make it look like Doug was the one that kidnapped the mummy, all right? So they can, get back some reputation. And I was like thinking, what? I didn't know this Bruce guy was a heel. I guess he was, okay?
He was, yeah, definitely.
So Parker, sees his girlfriend Jen and everything. She's freaking out, but obviously he didn't touch her. So he was like cool about that. Doug calls over Linda to take some pictures of everything because I guess Doug's plan was to he's going to put the crystal on there, but he's going to lower the mummy back here. So that's what happens. The mummy comes in there, all right. And Linda's already in there. Jack and he all shows up during their. Actually, Jack and Linda show up at the same time while the mummy was in there. Okay.
Yeah.
And well, actually, it actually happened like this. My bad. So Doug was in there. Then Bruce, Wendell, and Willoughby are in there. And Bruce is like, "Oh, you're just proving my point." So I guess like he didn't even have to frame him. He thought like they already caught him red-handed. All right. And they're talking about like.
I mean, kind of, but he's just in. They don't have any reason to think that though. He's just in the reactor room for some reason.
Yeah. So they're kind of calling him out, like, you know, you're probably the one that's been up to all this stuff, doing all this stuff the whole time. He's like, no, that's crazy to think. And then the mummy just shows up, and they're all like, oh shit, this shit's fucking real.
Yeah.
And then that's when Jack and Linda show up too, and the mummy just walks really slowly, very slowly, and puts his little marble on the Star Trek device,
as mummies are wont to do.
Yes. And then he starts glowing a little bit. He sheds his mummy attire, and he turns
and then
into
we see his true form.
His true form, one of the most laziest looking aliens I've ever seen of all time. Like you can fucking find this fucking alien at the Party City. The most human looking alien ever.
It was a little bit Party City. I will admit that. It was a little bit Party City. But I was going to comment that this scene this scene shows that this is one of those movies that's best not seen in high definition. Because when it shows a close up of the alien's face, you can see like where they glued the lenses into the mask for his eyes, like the plastic like sunglass lenses that they glued into it. But I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, it looks pretty good for the budget that they had.
So everybody is all like happy now, like Doug and Jack. They're all like smiling, like, oh yeah, this is this mummy who had deadly fungi that was killing half these kids on this fucking, or like a couple kids on this fucking campus, and almost killed my girlfriend. He's just a nice little alien that just wants to go home.
Well, no, they realized that later on, and then most of those kids are assholes, so they kind of deserved it.
Well, Bill's some kind of nice. He just want to get some booty.
Oh, that's true.
All right. So then Bruce is like, kill it out of nowhere.
Shoot it. Yeah.
And then like Willoughby grabs his gun, because I guess he does what he's told. And then like Doug like goes to rescue him, right? But like
he gets in the way of the bullet.
Does he though? Because Willie listen, I'm not Mr. Shooter over here. Right? But really, the mummy is right in front of Willoughby, right?
Yeah.
Doug is on the side.
Yeah.
So he pulls out his gun, and it looks like he just pulls out his gun and shoots Doug in the shoulder, compared to just shooting straight at the fucking alien.
I will agree that it's not the best angle maybe to shoot this scene, but like what I think it's supposed to have happened was that Doug moves out of, because he's standing beside him and he moves in front of the gun, and Willoughby shoots him in the shoulder because he got in the way of him shooting the alien. But he saved the alien, so to speak.
Yeah, that was supposed to happen, but that did not happen.
For the way it's shot, it does look like Willoughby just pulled out his gun and shot Doug for some reason.
So Doug's on the floor, right? And then the alien with the most human-like Party City hand I've ever seen.
Yeah, with his long nails.
Long fucking hand with nails on it.
Yeah, he went to the Korean nail salon.
Was he in the werewolf or something?
No, he just went to the Korean nail salon.
Yeah.
He got his long coffin nails or whatever they call them. So he reaches out to Doug's hand. So what I thought was going to happen originally was he was going to heal Doug because Doug saved him.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened.
No, he transports him into the crystal ball land.
Yeah, I guess he beams him back up to his ship or whatever.
No, they just turn into a crystal. They turn into a marble ball.
No, that's the marble. No. So the communication device that they built brought the spaceship from another planet to come get him, and then they beamed them up to the ship. And then what's left is one of those crystals. It's left on the floor, but they don't turn into the crystal.
Yeah. But then your boy Bruce, all right, runs over to the fucking the heel guy who turned heel in this movie. I can't believe it. Mm-hmm. turns over. I guess he wasn't paying attention to anything that was going on in this movie at all. He just wanted to frame Doug the whole time. He thought it was he. The only thing that Bruce did was he loved frat boys and he wanted to turn heel on Doug. Okay, and then he goes at the end and grabs the crystal, and then his fucking hand starts burning and he freaks out. And then I couldn't believe my eyes. It said, "To be continued," and I was like, "Wait a minute, what? Was it supposed to be like a TV show or something?" It's a fucking full-length movie.
I think they do put a question mark in it, like to be continued, like maybe. But yeah, clearly there's supposed to be a sequel because this ending doesn't make any sense. Like, where did they like? He just disappears with Doug to a spaceship, and then this guy gets infected by the fungus from the crystal. And although the crystal doesn't infect anybody else that touches it, only the mummy does. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird ending. I will admit that. But I mean, I think that I think this movie's pretty good. I mean, it's like a monster movie kind of. I liked it a lot. But anyway, yeah. So then I guess there was supposed to be a sequel to this thing that somehow shockingly never got made.
We talk about here a lot. Like there's like certain movies, you know what I mean? That like, it seemed like they always keep it open for a sequel. Yeah. That never get made. One comes along.
They don't often advertise the sequel.
Yeah, like exactly. Like they, there's a lot of 80s movies and horror movies that get a lot of sequels to them, but then there's some that they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a sequel, and like never happens at all. Like this one, I'm pretty good about there not being a sequel. I think I'm satisfied.
Yeah, obviously they thought this movie was gonna do better than it did.
Yeah. So, so what's the little rant thing you got going on about this?
So here's my problem, and so you're familiar, I'm sure, with the TV show Mystery Science Theater 3000, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I hate this show. Yeah, I hate this show. We've talked about it before, The Burning Passion, because they basically created this culture of like, oh, the B movies are terrible. And like, look, it's funny. They didn't have enough money to do what the things they wanted to do with it. And it just kind of creates this culture of like only high budget movies are good when high budget movies make the same mistakes. So they did this movie on their show under the other title, Being from Another Planet. And they were talking about how it's like this is like the worst movie that we've ever seen. Like this was like, there's way worse movies than this. Legends of the Fall is a way worse movie than this. But they're talking about how terrible this movie was, and like it's all a gimmick. It's all a fucking gimmick, and Joel Hodgson's an asshole, and he just likes to make fun of like shit that he doesn't understand. And like this movie, I thought this movie was great. It's an adventure. There's a mummy that's chasing people around. There's college girls in it. There's like an alien. There's like crystals that they're trying to find. So there's like a mystery. Like I don't really, other than the very weird ending, I don't know what there is to complain about this movie.
I mean, like, let's listen. I'll give you that. Like, it wasn't like, I thought it was a little boring, but I don't think it was the worst movie I saw.
It's a little
like,
slow.
I will take this movie over both those Saturday the 14th fucking disasters that we watched.
Oh God, yeah, those movies are terrible.
Those are terrible.
This movie's better than Blades that we've done on the show.
I don't know, man. Blades, you know what I mean? You got some.
Blades was pretty good.
They were like ice skating, on there with the little mask, and that was funny. Check it out in the archives. But that's
no, Blades is the one, and not the one about the lawnmower that's like a Jaws remake.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
The ice skating movie is good too. I can't remember what it was called, but that's in the archives. They're in one of our winners.
I think that I was thinking about Curtains.
Curtains, Curtains is
that was a good one, yeah. But Blades, with the lawnmower.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, like, I'm a little shocked that you didn't like this. I mean, I thought you would like this movie.
I mean, listen, it wasn't like it was like painful to watch. Like I was just saying, like the problem I had with it, it was just the constant cuts. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I got the plot, but there was some plot holes in it that I didn't really like. Like I thought I didn't really like the alien being a baby face at the end. Like I thought that was pretty stupid. You know what I mean?
Well, why? Why is that stupid? Like because the alien is not the bad guy.
Well, who's the bad guy? The green fungi?
No, the humans are.
Was it Sharpie? He was the main bad guy?
Sharpie's a bad guy, and so is, what's his name? The guy that grabbed the crystal at the end.
Bruce?
Bruce is the main bad guy.
Those are the worst heels I've ever seen in a movie.
The alien's just trying to get home. The alien's the babyface, just like in E.T. I mean, when you watch E.T., do you expect the alien to be the bad guy?
Well, I mean, yeah, but that's made for a kid's movie.
Well, this is a similar story, but not made for kids. This has a mummy in it. He kills people.
I mean, usually the monster becomes the babyface anyway, I guess. So.
Yeah, a lot of times.
But anyway, that's
Frankenstein's a babyface.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. We got it. Okay, we know you like this one. To me, it was okay. It wasn't horrible, but I probably would not have it on my rotation ever again. Okay, let's just say that.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
But so we'll be moving on from the Time Walker. Time has stopped for the Time Walker. All right, and we'll be moving on here next week, finishing off our month of It Came from the Sky, talking about the stuff.
The Stuff, another movie I've wanted to do for a long time.
Now, I have never seen this stuff. Okay.
Oh, you're in for a treat, man.
Now, we picked it out. Does this come from an alien source or no?
Yes.
Okay.
It has an alien origin. Yes.
Okay, because I wasn't sure, because I saw like some description about it, and I was like, oh, this seemed like it was like man-made and shit. But well, I guess we'll see when we do the review, but but yeah, I've been waiting to see this one for a long time because I've always heard about this stuff, so I'm actually pretty excited about seeing it. So it should be pretty entertaining on there. And of course,
also made by New World Pictures. Made by New World Pictures.
There you go, man. Double. Wow. I guess we could compare the storyline and the production on both of them. We'll see how it goes.
Well, I mean, The Stuff is written and directed by Larry Cohen, who's in my opinion, one of the greatest filmmakers to ever live. So there's no real comparison between this guy and Larry Cohen and Tom Kennedy. But, I mean, Larry Cohen's a genius, and you'll see why when you watch this movie next week. Yeah,
we'll check it all out. But everybody, check it out. Join us here next Sunday as we finish up It Came from the Sky month for The Stuff. And of course, on the episode, we'll talk about what we're going to be doing for May. It's going to be a big month here on the Retro Blood in May. And, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the latest up to the shows, all that stuff on there. Give us a like, give us a comment. Help the show out, brother. Keep this train going, this 80s train going. And, check out a lot of our other reviews, you know what I mean? Check out a bunch of fun reviews out there. I know everybody's been checking out some of our Friday the 13th and Halloween reviews, you know what I mean? But check out some of those movies. Yeah, those are great ones. But check out some of the, some of the random movies we did, out there too, like Final Exam and stuff. We got a couple good ones on there.
Yeah, Evil Dead. I'm surprised people don't listen to the Evil Dead show a lot. That was really good.
You could do our one of my favorite of last year, of course, was an episode that I was halfway drunk on, which was the Night of the Demons.
Night of the Demons, yes, classic.
The Halloween special is always a fun one here on the Retro Blood.
Yeah, the Halloween special.
And we got a big one. We got a big one this year too. It's gonna be crazy. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
But everybody, let's get out of here with some Venom. Countess Bathory, brother. There was really no satanic stuff in Time Walker, but I guess so maybe when the alien beamed up to his ship with Peter, maybe they were actually discovered by the Bathory demon itself to take over the world and conquer the world. Maybe this is the origin story for Independence Day. We have no idea.
Maybe they were just playing Venom on the spaceship when you got there.
Yeah, that's true.
They're like, these are some cool aliens. This is the Venom.
Just imagine buying that album and watching this movie on the same day.
Man, that'd be fantastic.
All right, everybody. So join us here next week for The Stuff. Alison, James Kline. See y'all later.
See you guys.